didn't work. Something's happening. I want to put the... On guitarmaking.co.uk you'll find video courses, step-by-step guides to designing and building your own guitar, acoustic or electric, completely from scratch. You can sign up for courses individually, you'll get lifetime access and pro support, or if you're interested in all styles of guitar making, Access All Areas is a membership to guitarmaking.co.uk. You'll get access to all the courses, past, present and future. You'll also get 20% discount on wood parts and everything else you need to build your guitar. I hope you enjoy the website, take a look around, have a look at some of the free video previews, see what's available and join the guitar making revolution today. Right, we're back in the room. Hey folks, welcome to our first live stream from the Bailey workshop for guitarmaking.co.uk. So I'm just going to tell you, we'll be live streaming for, I don't know, half an hour or an hour. Let's see how long it takes. It's the first time we've ever done it, so let's see how it goes. Let us know in the chat if audio's not working or if something's wrong, please. While we're waiting for people to come online, I think I'll just quickly run through what we're going to do. So we'll be streaming for a while. I'm going to give you some news, what's going on in the workshop. We've got new courses and a masterclass, which I'm going to tell you about soon. We've got, I'm going to do a demo on how to install a truss rod. So we've got overhead cam and we've got Lewis over there on cam 3. So we should be able to get all the angles. One of the features of this live stream is that I'm going to be doing some kind of live demo, hopefully. We're going to be doing it on the first Saturday every month. Let's see how it goes, eh? So it could be a bit wobbly for a while. We've also got Carol over there, she's switching the cameras. And I'm also switching cameras as well, so sometimes we might get a bit in each other's way, but let's see what happens. So I'm going to show you how to put a truss rod in, live, on the internet, very shortly. I'm also going to be doing, there's going to be a section every month where we do member questions. So guitarmaking.co.uk, if you saw the introduction, is basically my guitar making academy. So I filmed my courses. We have a complete build your own electric and build your own acoustic course. That's over 400 videos, average about 10 minutes each. And I take you step by step through the entire process of building a guitar from scratch, starting with a blank piece of paper, or if you've already got a plan, starting with blank pieces of wood, and you can design your own shape. I tell you step by step how to go through the whole thing and you end up with a finished guitar. So along the way people have questions, and some of the interesting ones I'm going to pick out and we're going to feature on our monthly live stream. So also, if you've got any questions you'd like me to answer, then just leave them in the comments, and I'll do my best. Sorry, I was just thinking of some questions there. Got plenty of those. So I'm also going to do a little tools and stuff section where we talk about something new tool or something. Hello Boo! Woohoo! Hello Boo. Good to see ya. who's one of our members. Maybe we'll feature you at some point. So we're going to show you a guitar that somebody's built on the course and answer questions. So this is our new to the workshop. So I think it was it Dan who sent this? Dan from Adventure Tapes. So this is a box that's come, no idea what's in it. Well, I do know what's in it, but I haven't opened it yet. So this is a Adventure Tape, which apparently has started to be used by guitar makers, and we'll get to that later. Find out all about that. We'll put the link in the description and everything. I'm not affiliated to Adventure Tape in any way, but he has sent me this for free just to try it out. So we'll get to that in a bit. What else we got? In the Bailey workshop, I'm going to show you a couple of the things that I'm working on. And at the end, we are going to show you an interview with Darren King from Bagpress. So Darren came to the workshop late last year, I think it was November, and he brought with him a load of gear. I'll show you some of that. His speciality is the vacuum press to make laminated panels. So we can use that in guitar making for backs and sides. Obviously there is a bit of a thing about plywood being cheap, but this certainly isn't cheap, and it's cheaper than making wood from solid guitars, but it's not cheap, and it certainly doesn't sound cheap. So there is one part of the film that we had to cut out, because when I took this out of the vacuum bag and first tapped it, it didn't sound wonderful. In fact, it sounded a bit like a wet sponge. So that's what you can kind of expect when you take your wood out, because the glue isn't completely dry. So this has had a while now to dry completely. Check it out. Get a shot of that, Lewis. This is a veneer that that Darren brought up to show us, and you can see he's made a curved panel. Don't know if you can see the curve. This is going to be the back for our guitar. So if you check out, maybe next month we'll give you an update, and you'll maybe see this actually made into a back. Whoops, there's my tea. That was a good start, wasn't it? I've spilt tea all over my demonstration. Carol to the rescue. Thanks, Carl. Don't need that anymore. Don't need that anymore. It's going well. So, that's what we're going to be doing over the next half an hour or something. Forgive me if I'm teaching you to suck eggs. This is my job. I show people how to build guitars, and if I'm showing you stuff you already know, then apologies. So, I guess I should introduce myself. My name is Mark Bailey, and I am Bailey Guitars, along with Carol, and see underneath it all, it's Bailey Guitars. And we've also got Lewis, part of the team, who's now on camera 1 over there. Hi, Lewis. So without further ado, I think we'll just get on with it. Yeah, well, what I wanted to say was, like, why should you listen to me? Who am I? Well, when I was young, I had a dream. I wanted to make guitars, and I was very lucky that a guitar factory moved to my town, and so I went and knocked on the door. Eventually they let me in, and they gave me a broom, so I swept the floor, and I was like, right, now what? 17-year-old and very keen. Over 4 years working at the factory, I picked up basically the whole process. I worked in every department in the factory, and then when I left, I had to relearn everything on a much smaller scale so that we can do it on our bench at home. All you need is a table like this, a garage is good, and a few tools. So a router and a bandsaw and a few hand tools. There is a video actually, or maybe put a video in the link in the description about exactly what tools you'll need, or if you search the channel you'll find that. But my thing is that anybody can build guitars. I know it's true because I've taught over 400 people in my workshop here how to do it. And then what we did was we filmed the whole process and we broke it down into chunks, and step by step we put it online to create my guitar making academy. So that's what it's all about. Of course, 10 minutes after I finished my films, they discontinued the truss rod that I like to use, and so this is our new truss rod. It's not new, but it's new to us. Just show you briefly how it works. If you zoom out just a little bit, Lewis. So as I tighten this up, it will bend. You see that bend? So what we do is we put it in this way up, and that will counteract when we put our strings on. It wants to bend the neck this way, and the truss rod will bend it back. So that's what the truss rod's for. I'm going to show you how easy it is to put a truss rod in right now. No time like the present. So what I've got here is a pre-made fretboard. So what I suggest you do is make your fretboard first. If you haven't got one already, then you can buy a pre-made fretboard from our website. We'll maybe put the link in the description, or you can go and search for that. Pre-made fretboard. There's no shame in using a pre-made fretboard for your first guitar. At least you know it will play in tune. And then maybe if you want to be a guitar maker, you can, when you've finished your first one, you can sell it and then buy the equipment to make your own fretboards. You can of course make your fretboard by hand, but that's a lot more work intensive and quite difficult, not as accurate, and not many people really do that. If you're building your own guitar, I highly recommend buying a pre-made fretboard. Okay, so here's mine, and I've already used it to mark out my neck. Could zoom out just a little bit, look. So here's the headstock, this end. I've made 2 lines for where the nut sits. My fretboard goes there, and I've marked the last 2 frets. The main rule with a fretboard, the main rule with a truss rod is that it goes from the chunky part of the neck, and it must go past the first fret. So the adjustable part of the truss rod goes from the chunky part of the neck, and it must go past the first fret. So I'll show you on this bolt-on neck. On a bolt-on neck we put the truss rod the other way around, so that the truss rod hole is at the end there. I'm going to show you how to do a bolt-on neck another time. After this live stream's finished, we're going to continue filming, and I'm going to do bolt-on neck and acoustic. So acoustics are really easy, but bolt-on neck, there's an extra job. We need to drill this hole. So if you want to find out how to do that, then you'll have to go to the Guitar Making Academy, guitarmaking.co.uk, and sign up on as a member there, and you'll get to see all the videos. Okay, so that one's coming next. Right now I'm going to show you how we put a truss rod in a set neck guitar. This is what I recommend you build for your first guitar, something like this. It's a really nice guitar. This is a left-handed version, obviously. And you can see the neck joint there. It's a set neck. So our truss rod needs to go into the chunky part of the neck, and at this end there's going to be a little slot that's longer than the truss rod, and that's where we put our Allen key in to adjust our truss rod and compensate for the strings are bending the neck forward this way, and so the truss rod bends it back straight for us so that we can get a nice low action. So that's what it's all about. That's just a quick brief overview. If you want to know more information, then get yourself on the website. And you can find out how to build yourself one of these guitars. So here's our neck blank, and I've marked out the nut position and the last 2 frets. Here's our truss rod. We're going to make a slot for this truss rod to sit into. So my design is going to be a 3-a-side headstock, so I'm going to put the truss rod down the centre of the neck. If I was making a 6-a-side headstock, I might want to offset the truss rod to account for the headstock not being in the centre. But basically I've marked the centre of my neck onto the neck blank there. Now I need to set up a router to cut a slot. So you could just get a shot me picking that up if you want, Lewis. So you see that? My lovely bandsaw and the router. What I'm going to do is plug my router into this extractor here. Try and keep the dust down. That is another video we've got coming up soon, is the war on dust. We're having a war on dust here in the workshop. Find out more about that. So this is a 1/4 inch cutter, just a straightforward 1/4 inch straight slot cutter. If you can see that, maybe I'll stick it out the bottom. So it's a 1/4 inch wide truss rod, and so we're using a 1/4 inch cutter, which is great because, well, most routers come with a free cutter, and it's usually a 1/4 inch one. So with a bit of luck, most people, if you've got a router, you'll already have the cutter to do this. Unfortunately, you will need to either widen the slot or use a wider cutter. I'm going to change it and make a wider, use a wider cutter. We need to just widen the slot in the area where the nut is there, the adjustable nut, because it doesn't quite fit into the 1/4 inch hole. So I'm just using a 1/2 inch cutter. What you could do is just move the cutter across and make it a bit wider, and then move it back across the other way and make it a bit wider, just to make that area a little bit wider. That'll all become clear in about 5 minutes after I've cut the slot. So let me show you what it should look like and how we do that. Put that down there for a minute. Okay. So remember, the adjustable part is going to go up this end. This is where our headstock is on a set neck. I like to put this somewhere in between the lines where the nut is. Somewhere around there, it doesn't matter exactly. As I said, as long as the adjustable part of the truss rod goes past the 1st fret, that's what's important. This truss rod goes this way up, the flat side up. Just take the tension off there. So it sits there, and then I'm going to mark the end of the truss rod there with a pencil. Anyone see a pencil? Can't see a pencil, can you? Cheers. So I'm going to mark the end of the truss rod here with a nice dark line, obviously making sure that it doesn't go past the fretboard. So these truss rods come in different lengths. I usually use, this is 440mm. This end, I'm going to make the slot extra long to give space for the truss rod key to get in there and adjust the truss rod. So let's move that across a little bit. I just use the length of the nut there just to mark that. So our slot is slightly longer than our rod. It's going to go from there to there. Okay, that's marked out. Now I'm going to cut the slot. I'll put a block on each end. Maybe if I zoom out a bit you'll get a better view of that. Here's the plan. I'm going to put a block at each end with a clamp. And that's going to stop my router at the end of the slot, both ways. So I'll put them on loosely and I'm going to adjust put my fence on. I'm going to adjust my router so it's going down the centre of the neck using this fence. Of course you've got to make sure that the neck is overhanging the bench, because the router is going to guide along the edge of the neck there. So I've got a mark on my router. Don't know if you can see that. It shows me where the centre of the neck is. Here. And I can line that up with the mark I've made there. Hope you can see that. I can actually do a little fine adjustment there. Now I'm going to take it down until it touches the wood, and I'm going to move it until it just leaves the line on. You're not going to be able to see that. Do the same this end. Maybe we can see it this end. Can move the camera, Lewis. If you want to try to tilt the camera in so you can see it. Through there it is. Try and get a shot. Live guitar making, folks. There you go, look. Can you see that line? I'm going to set the router so it just leaves the line on. There, and I'm going to move this block. If you zoom out just a little bit, Lewis. Okay, I'm going to move this block up to there and then put the clamp on. And I did the same at the other end. So we've got a question from the internet. How short can you get truss rods? Well, you could make your own truss rod as long as you wanted. For a 22-inch scale, you could certainly get one for a 22-inch scale, yes. They go down to in the 300 mils, so this is 440. I think they go down to about 340 mil, but we'll have to double check that. We will check that, but if you contact us, you can email us, link in the description, and we can certainly check that out for you. More than likely we can get you on. So clamps nice and tight. Let's double check, make sure it goes from end to end and it leaves those lines on. I've set it into the middle. Now all we need to do is to set the depth. So this truss rod is about 9mm. Get a shot of that maybe. It's 9mm. What I'm going to do is make a slot 10mm deep, and then the truss rod will go in, and we're going to glue in a fillet. So this is our piece of wood which goes in on top. The reason I use a fillet is it stops the truss rod from rattling around. We could try and go exactly 9mm and glue the truss rod in, it would work, but there is a chance that it would rattle around. So what I prefer is to go just 1mm too deep, and then we glue in this fillet on top. And then obviously it sticks up proud, we plane it flush. That's all covered on the course. All I'm doing now is showing you the difference between standard truss rod that I've shown you already on the course and our new truss rod. So here we go. 1/4 inch slot from there to there. I'm going to go 10mm deep. Could go a little bit deeper if we wanted. Could go maybe 10.5 to 11. It's not entirely critical. I'm going to set it by taking the cutter down to touch the wood, and then we have to tell the router that this is 0, dial 0, and then I'm going to create a 10mm gap under the depth stop, dialing in 10mm, lock it. So what I've done is created the 10mm gap under the depth stop there, so the router will come down until it hits that stop, you see, and then it can't go any deeper. Now that's way too much to do in one pass, so whenever we're cutting deep slots with a router, we always do several passes. None of them will be more than 2 to 3mm deep, so none of our passes will be more than 2 or 3mm deep. So let's do it. One other tip is don't try and cut two ways. Don't cut and then plunge, cut and plunge and cut and plunge. Don't do that, because you guaranteed a wobbly slot. Nobody wants a wobbly slot. I can't even say it. Nobody wants a wonky slot. So we're only going to cut in one direction. We're going to turn in, we're going to turn on, plunge in, route, and then we bring it back to the start. We plunge in again, and it's going to take probably 4 or 5 passes until we're finally down to full depth, and we know we're down to full depth when this hits the stop. Okay, so health and safety, always wear a mask. I'm going to cut this slot right now, and then there's one more quick job to fit our truss rod, which I will show you. So mask on. I've got a brand new mask for you folks. Look at that. It's virus proof. Topical.
I've heard the first cut is the deepest, is that true?
Yeah, that is the truth. Look, it's got a thing on the side, that's weird, it's normally on the front. We're in. I'm going in. to widen it to actually do. Come on. Oh yeah, I do. Oh, I'm an idiot. Should have plugged that in there. It's live, folks. Cool. We'll test the depth of that, just to check. I'm looking for 10 mil or 10.5 mil. It won't drop in yet though, because as I said, we need to widen the slot just in this area where the adjustable part is at this end. So this is the extra job that you'll need to do using the new truss rod. I'm going to mark where it needs to be widened, which is here, and we're going to make another slot just from there to there, same depth, just a bit wider. So as I said earlier, you could just move your cutter across and do another slice and then move it back, but it's actually easier just to change the cutter. I'm actually going to change the cutter So if you're a young person watching this, I would suggest that if you're under 16 for sure, get some help. Get your get someone who's a bit older to help you out with the router. Always read the manual that comes with it and follow the instructions in the manual, and you won't be going too far wrong. What I like about these routers is you might think they're a bit scary. Maybe they are at first, but you soon get used to them. The best thing about them is that your hands are above the cutter, well away from the cutter, so you can't really hurt yourself unless you do something really stupid. So if you're not sure how to use any of these tools, get some help. One thing you could do is sign up on my course, and then I'll go through all this health and safety stuff. So I'm going to bring it back and stop the router there where I've marked it, and move the block up. And then I need to reset the depth, so I need to tell the router that that's 0 by taking it down to touch the wood. I dial in 0 on my router. Now your depth stop might be different, and I've set a depth of 10 mil there. Carry your pen's well loud. People will be able to decipher what you're writing by the sound of the pen. Right, here we go. 10 mil deeper, and all it's doing, sorry, it's exactly the same depth, 10 mil, and all it's doing is it's making the slot a little bit wider so the truss rod fits in. Double check, check twice, cut once. Everything looks good to me. Let's do it. wait till it stops spinning before you wave it about. Right, so there we go. Let me just show you that. There's our truss rod slot. So we do it now because it's much easier to machine a slot into a big square lump of wood. Once we've cut the shape out of the neck, it gets much harder. Let's check that the truss rod fits perfect, and then the fillet would go down on top. This would get glued in. And the fretboard, it's all hidden by the fretboard. So you see, that is how we install a truss rod into a set neck guitar, like this. Brilliant. End of demonstration. Any questions? So that's it, folks. That's the yeah, I'll just say that again. If you're under 18, make sure you do this stuff with an adult, your woodwork teacher or one of your folks or something. Brilliant. So that could have gone worse, couldn't it? Some tea. Right then, next section is member questions. Right, we've got a member question. Do you like my cards, by the way? If you order anything from us, you'll get sent some of these cards in the box. You can use them as postcards. I've got my notes written on them. Nice, eh? Some of my guitars, some of my favourite guitars. Carol doesn't like them for some reason. So, here's a question for you. One of our students, John McMillan, is making an archtop guitar. And let me see if I can get it up on the screen. So, John McMillan is making his first archtop guitar. And he's got, if you visit the forum, there's some pictures of it. So he's almost finished, and it's in the white, which means it's all sanded. His guitar is a neck that's in the white, so it's sanded. It's not finished. It's ready for a finish to be applied. So we call it in the white. John McMillan's been working on his archtop for a long time. It's a lot of work, and now he's ready to finish. But he's not sure what colour. Should it be a natural colour? Or should it be... Yeah, well, I'm going to bring it up on the screen if you just give me a sec. Let's see if we can bring it up on the screen. It's coming. What I want you to do is go to the site, have a look at his guitar and tell him what colour he should do it. We reckon it should be green. Here, let me show you. So hopefully you guys can see that. This is our forum, so if you've got any questions or anything, or you can keep us updated with how you're doing at home with your build, then this is where we do that on the forum. There's John's archtop guitar. Also, Yeah, so we want you to go to this website and tell him what colour he should do it.
Sign up for free.
Yeah, you might need to sign up and log in for that, but you can do that for free. And let's see if we can find... congratulations to Paul Flood for finishing his first Bandman at home. There it is, look at that. So both John and Bill have made these guitars completely at home, and the only help they've had really is my online videos. So there's proof that it works. To be honest, I'm completely amazed what people have managed to come up with just a little bit of information from me, what they can do. So that leads me on nicely to Darren King. So if you do a search on the blog there for Darren King, then you'll find out what he's been up to. Meanwhile, back to the workshop. Here's what we're building up to. I'm going to show you the interview that we did with Darren very soon. Before that, I think should we do the unboxing thing? So congratulations to Bill, that was a fantastic job on the Bandman. Head over to the website, folks, and give him a thumbs up if you like it, and just bear in mind that's the sort of thing that you could also do. Let's open this. This should be from our friend at Adventure Tapes, our new friend at Adventure Tapes. Apparently he's been selling a lot of this to other guitar makers in America, and so he sent this to me to try. Stretchy tape. He did also make a video on how it can be used, and so it's such a great video that rather than just repeat everything that he did, I'm just going to put a link in the description when this live stream's finished, and you'll be able to find the link to Adventure Tapes and have a look yourself. So this, I believe, is the multi-pack, I think. So it comes in 3 different sizes. Philo! Hey Filippo! How you doing, man? Good to see you. Oh.
He says you look the same as you 26 years ago.
Cool. So yeah, Adventure Tape. Check this out, guys. Comes in a nice tin. Look at those. So there's 3 different sizes. I'll put them there. Three different sizes. Apparently what guys have been using it for is gluing on binding. I thought it might be good for backs. You know how we stick the backs on. Dropped it. Wow, let's get quite a lot. It's quite long. What I'm interested in is how much it stretches. So I think you get about 3.6 meters, I read. Don't quote me on that, you'll have to check the site, but I think it's 3.6 meters. Let's see how stretchy it is. That's at least 3 times, 4 times the length, 5 times the length. Yeah, I think you could stretch that 4 or 5 times its length, which is plenty for what we want. That's fantastic. Wow, I think I'll be roping my backs with these. It's not adhesive, so it doesn't stick to anything. As you'll see on his demonstration, it sticks to itself really well. So just like how we rope the backs, if you've done the course already, you'll have seen that. When we're gluing the backs on an acoustic guitar, we rope it on, and we use a car inner tube that's been cut into a long spiral to make a long rubber band. But this is just so much better. You might not be able to easily get hold of car inner tube, so this stuff is a lot lighter and thinner as well. Much more. That'd be much better for getting around all the intricate shapes like a cutaway. So that's good. Adventure tape, brand new. Brand new to the world of guitar making. It looks like some of the thicker ones actually come with a clip, so you can use that to lock down on itself. It locks against itself just like rubber, just like on when we're roping the backs. I just tie a loose knot, and that, when that's doubled over, it will lock against itself. I bet that'll be solid there. Look at that. And it's reusable, last forever. I think I might need another set that I can cut into shorter lengths for different jobs, so I can keep the big long one for roping the backs. And I'll have to try to make sure it's long enough. But keep an eye out for that one, folks. We'll see if it's long enough to do a whole back or whether you need 2 strips. Hard to tell at the moment. Brilliant. Well, thanks for sending us that. Can't wait to give it a try. Can also use it for lots of other things as well. If you've got any ideas, put them in the comments below, folks. Filippo, you got any ideas for how we can use this tape? Come on. This is the medium one. So it looks like, what's that? I suppose I should measure it. It will tell you on the website. It looks like 10mm, 20mm, 10mm, 18mm and 42mm. So if you folks, if you're wondering who Filippo is, Filippo's one of my old friends from the factory when I used to work at Patrick Eggle. So we actually lived in the same house for a while, didn't we? It was weird. I was thinking about you the other day because when we left that house, I went back to the estate agents to get my deposit. They won't give me my deposit back because we trashed the house. But anyway, we was young.
The wild house, he says. The wild house.
Yeah, it was a party house, wasn't it? We had some parties, eh, Filio? So that's Adventure Tape. Can't wait to give that a try. Thanks for sending us that, folks. And just go to their website, adventuretape.com. And we'll put the link in the description. And we'll put the link for the video that he made, how they're using it, in the description. Wait till we finish though, because I don't want you to leave now.
I can't do it.
Right, I'm going to quickly show you what I'm working on.
You said you didn't mow the lawn.
No, I wasn't. I never mowed the lawn once, no.
But you would now, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I like mowing the lawn now. Can you pass me, maybe Lewis, pass me the guitar that I'm going to be building next, my guitar. It's the top one. So here's what's coming up, folks. I'm going to be finishing this guitar, the one that we started with Darren King. You'll see how we made this in a minute. If you hang about, we're going to show the interview. And then we've got an entire masterclass, which is an hour and a half long. There's 10 sections. We're going to put it in a playlist. They're all about 6 to 10 minutes long videos. Or we've put it all in one long one, which is an hour and a half long. They're all in a playlist. How to use the vacuum press for guitar making with Darren King from bagpress.com. Rock and roll. So this is the back that he made. And Carol, would you just grab the sides, which are over there? I'll show you those as well. So I'm gonna make this into a finished guitar, obviously. So over the next few months, if you check back, folks, you'll be seeing this and hopefully hearing it They're the things that look like side-shaped moulds over there. Here's a little tap tune, just to show you what it sounds like. And I'm going to show you some sides.
Is that from here?
So this is the mould that you'll see us use. What we do is you stick the whole thing in a bag, vacuum press it, and this is what comes out. This is for people who are interested in building guitars, but they maybe don't want to buy a bending iron. And some people find bending the sides with an iron a bit daunting. So this is one that Darren made for us. If I can get it out. Here's our sides. Same material. Maybe get Lewis to show us that. Look at that. So I'll be making this into a guitar. Let me do it then. I'll be making this into a guitar. And also, I haven't made myself a guitar for 20 years. And I've had this piece of wood for about the same amount of time, or maybe half that. Nobody's chosen it for their guitar, so I'm going to have it for mine. So this is Madagascan rosewood. It's reclaimed from an old table, we think. From an old wardrobe, I'm told. So check this out, folks. I hope you can hear that, but it sounds amazing. That's mine. That's my next guitar. So nobody else has chosen it. I think it's absolutely beautiful, reclaimed. Look at that.
There's an embargo. It's in the CITES list.
Yeah. So yeah, Carol's telling me it's on the CITES list, so I can no longer sell it. But there's nothing to stop me making it into my own guitar. So watch this space, folks. I think it's the best sounding piece of wood I've had in the workshop. Tap tuning. Let me tell you a little bit about tap tuning. You need to hold the piece of wood in the right place, because I get guys come into the workshop and I tell them how amazing it sounds. Check that, and they go, doesn't sound like anything, does it? They go, oh wow, it sounds great. Sounds wonderful. But what you've got to do is you've got to hold the piece of wood about a third of the way in and a third of the way in. So what we're looking for is a node. So that's part of the plank. It's part of the board that doesn't vibrate when you tap it. So if I tap it and hold it, I've got to hold it just with my fingertips as well. So I'm just pinching it. If you hold it too hard, you won't get a tone. So try and hold it in just the right place, about a third in and a third in, and then you can tap it, and then you'll get a better idea what that piece of wood sounds like. So is it a good piece or a bad piece? Well, beauty is in the ear of the beholder, isn't it? And I think I'm going to have this on top. What's this called again? It's cedar that's been made old, roasted or something, aged, torrefied. Yeah, we'll call it torrefied. It's torrefied. It's forget. We'll get it on the better camera. Torrefied cedar. Smells good. Fantastic. But these laminated backs and sides, they sound amazing. These sound fantastic as well. I think we'll be making a few guitars out of these yet. So that's that. That's what I've been getting up to and what I'll be doing in the near future. We've also got possible lap steel stuff going on. And what else is there? Oh yeah, Carol's just put up dates for new courses. So if you want to come to the workshop to build your own guitar, we have workshop courses. They're 5 days long, or there's different courses you can come on. But check the website. Carol's just put on the dates for the new Bailey workshop courses. For those of you that can come to the workshop, we're in the glorious hills of South Ayrshire. I'll try and say that again. We're in the glorious hills of South Ayrshire and we love it. But if you can't make it here, then that's what the guitarmaking.co.uk is all about. So hopefully I've filmed all the courses from start to finish, and I've cut out all the rubbish that I say in between that you've had to deal with on this live stream. I'm sorry about that. So anyway, I think we're about done. Are we done? If any of you have got any ideas for what we should do during this live stream, because I'm going to be doing it every month now, first Saturday of the month. I think it worked. We've had some comments, so I know that it's been working. If you've got any questions or ideas for live streaming, then put them in the comments or just let us know. I'm here to help you build your guitar. That's what I do. So rock and roll. Let's do it. If building a guitar was your New Year's resolution this year, then let's do it, eh? We drink lots of tea and we make lots of sawdust. Job done. I think we're finished. What we're going to do now is play. I'm going to play the interview that we did with Darren. It's about 20 minutes long, and he shows you some of the guitars that he's made using my course and some of the absolutely stunning woods that he's used. And then we're going to make the masterclass live. So as soon as the live stream's finished, I'm going to click the button which makes the masterclass live. As I say, there's 8 videos, I think 8 or 10 videos, shorter ones, and then we've put it into one big long one. If you want to watch it all in one binge, you can do that. Okay, so how to use the vacuum press for guitar making with Darren King, coming up after his unique exclusive interview here in the Bailey workshop. So let me just see if I can get that up. Where's it gone? I've lost it. Yeah, it's gone. It's completely gone. No, there it is, look. So thanks for watching, folks. It's all ready to go. Thanks for watching. Apologies for being a bit floppy on our first live stream, but we can only get better, can't we? Thanks, Boo. And thanks, Filippo. It's great to hear from you. Rock and roll. Keep up the good work. Hey, Roland. Cheers, Roland. Cheers, guys, for watching. Right, stick around. Watch this interview because it's amazing. Darren King is about to show you his stuff. Fingers crossed this works. All right. Cheers, folks. See you later. Hi folks, welcome to the Bailey Workshop for an exclusive interview with Darren the King. He's one of our star members on guitarmaking.co.uk. So he's come to visit us to show us all his amazing Bagpress gear. So Darren, you run bagpress.com, you started bagpress.com, it's your own company.
That's
Tell
correct.
us about How did you start? How did that happen?
Well, I was doing woodwork full time, and I needed to do some. I was aware of the process. I'd seen the process before, and I ended up building my own vacuum press simply using a little pneumatic Venturi, which is an air-powered vacuum pump, in effect, with a dust extractor bag. And to my surprise, it all worked.
So what were you trying to accomplish with that?
I was just trying to bend some wood. I was trying to create a laminated panel, a curved laminated panel, and it to such a high degree of satisfaction and for such a low cost that I realised in actual fact that we could put a vacuum press kit together for about 100 quid. Wow. And at the time, the cheapest electric vacuum press you could buy was about 700 quid. So there was a big difference. And when I launched Bagpress, we went out with this little £100 pneumatic vacuum press that would attach to even a small air nailer compressor. So it almost became just like another air tool. So any woodworker who got a compressor could buy this and start vacuum pressing and using the press for veneering or laminating or marquetry work. So it opened up the process to a whole group of woodworkers.
Yeah, because I remember, because I looked at vacuum compressors.
Yeah.
Is that the right term?
Well, vacuum pumps.
Vacuum pumps.
Yeah.
They were very expensive back in the day.
We now sell electric vacuum pumps as well, but it was that low cost. So it was the entry point. And what we found was, it's not exactly sprat to catch a mackerel thing, but we found that once you started talking to people and what they wanted to do, yes, they got interested because of the low price point, but in actual fact, it didn't take a lot of talking to make them realise that they'd be better off buying something else. Nobody's ever bought one of the electric kits and said they wish they bought the cheaper one, but it sometimes happens the other way around.
Right.
And it's also one of those things, until you've got it, you don't realise how useful it's going to be.
Yeah, because there are a million uses.
Well, even in guitar making, we've seen like 4 or 5 or 6 different processes that we can do, or different parts of the guitar that it can be applied to. In general woodworking, that's even greater. And we use the vacuum pumps for vacuum clamps, for vacuum straight edges, all sorts of things that are useful when we're trimming panels or cutting panels or marking up panels. So, you know, it's a lot more than a single use device.
How did you get interested in guitars?
Oh, guitars go back to my childhood, really. When I went to secondary school, I started taking classical guitar lessons because my dad had a sort of a, I can't remember what make it was now, but it was just a standard sort of cheap classical guitar, which I used to tinker around with. So I started taking lessons, which at that time were free at school. All we had to do was ask to have them, and I discovered I really enjoyed it. And from there, I went on to. I've always enjoyed making things, so it kind of an amalgamation or coincidence of interests.
Sounds like me talking.
Yeah,
sort of thing I say. Yeah.
And I got very disillusioned in my final year at school because I was kind of going through the sciences route. I got very disillusioned in my final year at school with some of the teachers I had, and I decided, sod it. I want to do guitar making or instrument making, and applied to the London College of Furniture, and ended up doing the early fretted course rather than the modern fretted. And that was great. That instilled in me a lot of the skills I use even to this day in my woodworking. Even things as simple as how to sharpen a plane properly, or sharpen a chisel. Yeah, absolutely. We've kind of developed 3 fairly distinct lines within the company from fairly early on, which is we sell vacuum presses to companies who want to do their own manufacturing, their own laminating and veneering. We then also have a mould making service, so we make high density polystyrene moulds for companies who are doing their own manufacturing, or woodworkers who are doing their own manufacturing. But then we also offer a full manufacturing service as well. So if the company or the client doesn't want to make the panels themselves, we can do that for them. And that actually has worked really well, those 3 disciplines within the company, because it means that when somebody comes to us to buy a vacuum press, we can give them advice on what the best equipment is or the best route might be for them to take based on our own real life manufacturing experience within the company.
So tell us an interesting job that you've done that didn't involve guitars.
An interesting job. Well, quite often the jobs I find interesting are the least profitable ones, and it's sometimes it's the way it goes. We've done, I don't know. One of the downsides of what we do is that we very rarely make all of something. So from that point of view, it can be quite unsatisfying because we never get to see the finished product in its final state. So if somebody's making a load of big reception desks, we might be making just the curved panels that go onto that. We're not seeing the whole desk. Similarly, we did a huge amount of veneering work on Lord Sugar's yacht a couple of years ago, and he was having that refitted. Did I get invited to Lord Sugar's yacht? No, I did not. So we had
a travesty.
Yeah, we had lots of sort of very late nights and ridiculous schedules to meet for that. And again, it just left our workshop as a load of panels wrapped up in bubble wrap.
Wow.
But that was an interesting job from the planning point of view.
Finished pictures when it was
Nope.
done?
No. So often we don't.
Travesty.
I know it's
You're the unknown stuntman.
kind of, yeah. It feels a bit like that at times. We do all the hard work and then get none of the thanks.
So Darren, you signed up for our online course, didn't you?
I did.
You made some guitars.
I
Let's
have.
have a look at those.
Well, the Ziricoti one was the first one that I got finished. This is a wood that I've always loved. It's the grain patterns in it are very similar to Rio rosewood, but in black and white. It's almost like a mono Rio rosewood.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. This figure, they sometimes call this a panorama.
Yeah.
Because it looks like hills.
Well, you quite often get faces appearing in it, little aliens, rabbits. I've had all sorts of funny little animals.
Pools and lakes.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's very, very striking veneer.
So this was the first guitar you ever made?
This is the first guitar I ever finished.
Never finished.
So
To completion.
I was making 4. I started off making 4, and then partway through I narrowed it down to 2. So it was this one and then the next one you're going to see. And then this one got finished about a week or 10 days before the second one. But things like the necks, I made a batch of necks all in one go, and I'd laminated up numerous sides using different layups because I was very much experimenting with different materials at that stage.
Well, for a first, I'd give that a 9.9, I think.
Would you? Well, that's very generous of you. It's very generous of you. It's in a weird tuning at the moment, but.
Do you want to do a little tuning, your weird tuning?
Yeah, I can do that, just about. Something like that, yeah.
So how does it feel to play a tune on a guitar that you made yourself?
When I first got it strung up and played it, it was actually quite an emotional thing, because it had been such a long time coming, and I'd always found a reason not to. And
how long have you been thinking about making a guitar?
Well, I went to the London College of Furniture when I was 18 years old and actually did a course in early fretted instruments, but only because I couldn't get onto the guitar making course.
Was it packed out, jam-packed?
They seemed to be looking for people who already made guitars. And that almost seemed to be a prerequisite for the course, that you had already made an instrument. I didn't fall into that category. So I did the early fretted course, and although it was 400 years too late for me to hit the peak of the lute and viol market, it taught me a lot. And I owe a lot to the tutors that I had during those 2 years, because
well, a lot of the skills are transferable, aren't they?
Totally. We spent probably the first month just learning how to sharpen a plane, and I can still sharpen a plane such that I can shave my arm with it. And that used to be the standard thing. We used to have a big bald patch on our arm where you.
Yeah, that's how you could tell a guitar maker.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and
you might be surprised to learn that in the factory where I learnt my trade.
Yeah.
Nobody in there knew how to sharpen a plane.
No, it doesn't surprise me. I see people trying to cut wood and chisel wood with tools that you just wouldn't believe. It's just phenomenal.
That was until we had a group of folks from the Jaguar factory,
Yeah.
from the wood shop in the Jaguar factory. They joined. They taught me how to sharpen chisels and planes.
Yeah.
But before that, I think we just didn't use many chisels
Yeah.
and planes. I guess it's a factory situation.
Yeah.
You don't need to do that.
But you'd be surprised at how many tradesmen think that they sharpen their tools once a year, you know, and what they do is chisels, they just get a sequentially bigger and bigger hammer to bang it with. You almost spend, I'd say you probably spend 15% of your day at the sharpening stone if you're doing really top quality woodwork with hard woods and sharp tools.
What was it that stopped you making a guitar before?
The main thing, and here this might sound stupid, the main thing that put me off was the dovetail neck joint. I could just never quite get my head around how a joint which is so unforgiving and difficult to adjust, how you could have one go at it and get it right. I didn't understand how that was feasible.
We don't always get it right first.
No, well,
you can always glue a piece on and have another go at it.
Yeah, and I have now done that.
Yeah. But of course, on the course, I show you an alternative method, which is a lot easier for beginners.
Yeah.
And you can't tell from the outside that this is a bolt-on neck.
No. So that was a big revelation for me. That was great.
So you didn't make a guitar because there was this issue of the neck joint that you couldn't get your head around. So what changed?
What changed? Well, I watched your course.
You came across.
I came across your course and
the course online.
Yeah, and the bolt-on neck thing, and did a bit more research and found out there's some very highly regarded kind of commercial guitar makers using bolt-on necks, and nobody seems to get. Taylor used bolt-ons.
Has advantages.
Yes, no, I fully appreciate.
We do both. We do dovetails as well.
Yeah,
but because there's something nice about a dovetail.
Yeah,
it makes you feel clever when you've done the dovetail.
Well,
but the bolt-on is much more forgiving.
It is. It's easy.
You're guaranteed to get a solid grip on the body, which is going to transfer the vibrations as you'd like. Whereas a dovetail, your first one might not be perfect.
Yeah.
So that's why I do that.
Yeah.
So this is the one you made first. What was the best bit then?
The best
what
bit,
was the most useful thing you found on the course?
It's difficult when so much of it is useful to pick out one particular thing. I think watching you fitting the neck was extremely useful. Just things that I wouldn't have thought about, like doing the undercut, and then only having to adjust the bit that's left. I might got there in the end, but lots of things that I got from your course were it was like shortcuts to where I might have got 3 or 4 weeks down the line, but for sure, there are lots and lots of little tips like that were very useful.
So you're glad you did it then?
Absolutely. No, I wouldn't be standing here now if I hadn't, I don't think.
Well, let's have a look at the second one you did.
Okay.
Check this out, folks. So this is what you can do with the veneers that you wouldn't be able to make that with a solid piece.
No, I mean it's not a species of timber that you will find in solid lumps.
No.
And part of that is structurally it wouldn't be suitable anyway. But secondary to that, it's very expensive veneer, or comparatively expensive veneer. So when they get a log that has got this type of figure in it, it gets put aside for the veneer cutters.
Yeah. That's what I was saying earlier. A lot of the best wood is put aside specifically for veneers.
Yeah, totally.
And us guitar makers would never get our hands on it.
No.
Unless we buy veneers.
Yeah. So this has always been one of my favourite woods. It's just so pretty. And I've done a lot of looking online. I haven't found or seen another guitar made in Massa birch. It's not to say there isn't one out there, but I haven't found it yet. It is really lovely.
Another stunner.
Well, this again, the same all laminated construction, and this is the tropical olive wood back with the little inlay strips, just make it look really nice and pretty. And this is far more going back to what initially inspired me to want to make guitars. I had a friend at school who had a Macaferri copy, steel strung Macaferri copy, and it was he who first told me about Django Reinhardt and the history of the guitars and how they had this secondary sound box in them, which isn't something I've done on this one. And subsequent reading, I learnt that the original Macaferris were actually nylon strung. Mario Macaferri was a classical guitarist, extremely good classical guitarist, and he first developed his second soundbox guitar as a nylon strung instrument for him to use in his own concerts. And it was only subsequently when he teamed up with the Selma company that they produce the steel string versions. But quite often you'll see in sort of gypsy jazz bands there will still be a nylon strung guitar somewhere, especially doing sort of rhythm in the background.
So where did you get the plans for this?
This was, I bought the full set of plans from Mr. Charles in Paris.
Okay.
He's R.F. Charles in Paris, who wrote the definitive book on Machiavelli and the guitar. The big,
I've seen, it's about £100 a copy or something, isn't it?
I think it's about 70 quid, yeah. But I have to say, worth it. You know, if you're interested in the guitars and looking to make
for a
them.
while and studied it. All done. That's how I learned about the laminated sides.
Yeah.
Machiavelli were all laminated backs and sides.
Well, that's the bizarre thing. I hadn't realised that. I hadn't realised that until earlier this year when the bending iron that I'd ordered hadn't turned up, and I was just getting really itchy to get going. And it's one of these serendipitous things that, in actual fact, I had all the technology, I had all the experience to do a far more accurate reproduction of the guitars than I thought I had.
Well, I must say it's turned out spectacularly well. There's one of your bridges, isn't it?
This is you know, I inherited a load of Rio rosewood from an uncle, and most of it has been cut into pieces just big enough to machine guitar bridges out of. Got a couple of necks out or fretboards out of it as well. But
I must say it makes very lightweight guitars.
it is. It's a beautifully light little guitar. Yeah.
And very clean. It forces you to work very clean, which is always a good thing. So, what can I say, Darren?
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
Thank you. Well, thank you for your help in getting there.
I'm just glad to be a part of it. So, what are you planning next then? What's the next one?
The next one, well, I have another Machiavelli on the go, which I actually started before that one, and this is what they call the petit bouche, which means small mouth, as opposed to that one, which is the big mouth, because this is a small oval sound hole version. Now, this is the one that has if you can see that, it has a kink in the soundboard. It has a bend.
What do they call that?
Pliage.
Pliage.
Which is a lovely word.
French for bend, is it?
Something like that. French for bend or French for pain in the back. It's quite a tricky thing to form.
So there's a kink in the soundboard. I don't know if you can pick that up, Lewis. Different bracing pattern, obviously.
Yeah. One of the things I love about going into anything new like this is kind of looking at it from a completely new perspective for me, and there are lots of different ways described to form this bend. But I ended up, as a project, designing a machine specifically to do the heat bend pliage.
Yeah, did you put the pictures on the?
There are pictures on the site.
The pictures for that are on the site, folks. If you search out posts by Darren King, what was the post? Was it the Ziricote one?
No, I think it was about doing the Machiavelli pliage.
Yeah, I think if you search for pliage, you'll find it.
Yeah. But if anybody has a soundboard and they want me to bend it for them, by all means, send me the bits and I'll do that for you. Now. I have the machine. Yeah.
So keep an eye out on the site, folks. I'm sure Darren will be putting some more updates on. Yeah. And you'll be able to see how this one comes along. And
this was just one other thing we could mention here, is that the linings on the Machiavellis are solid linings. So they're laminated linings as well.
So you've laminated these linings
exactly
using
the vacuum press, and using that's those ones, yeah.
So you've made the lining strips here, which is usually curved lining. The reason it's curved, slotted, is so that it bends. But with the veneers, of course, you don't need to do that.
So I think there
it looks like a solid binding.
I think it's 8 or 9 layers. It ends up being about 5 mil thick, and they've been laminated on the inside of these 2 MDF.
So you tape them down inside.
Exactly.
In place,
or you can just put
it in the bag.
Put little strips of that Velcro around them, hold them in place, put it in the bag, suck them down, and that width. You then just band saw it into 2 pieces, and it gives you the left and right hand one. Just did a little round over on the side, but absolutely phenomenal.
That's what you want with sides. The sides don't really have much impact on the sound. The sides are really the carrier for the front and back. Most of the sound comes from the top.
Yeah.
And it's nice if the back can get involved.
But the one thing you don't want the sides to be doing is absorbing any of that energy.
So you want the sides to be as rigid as possible, so that the front and back can move.
Yeah.
So I hope you've all learned something, folks. We'll wrap that up there. I can't thank you enough, Darren, for bringing all this stuff to show us.
Oh, it's my
Totally
pleasure, Mark.
appreciate it.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Keep an eye out on the website and check out progress.
Yeah.
And we'll keep you informed. Thanks for watching, folks. Much appreciated.
Take care.
Rock and roll.
Awesome.
Measure twice, cut once. Etc. We'll turn the cameras off.
I've been thinking about making a guitar now for 30 odd years, in fact probably longer than that, which is why I have my little snail logo to indicate just how slowly
I've... logo before the guitar.
Well, almost. But there were several parts of the process that had always put me off. I just couldn't get my head around the dovetail joint for the neck, and I hadn't realised that there was a perfectly acceptable alternative of just a tenon and bolt-on neck. And just seeing the videos and watching the videos, you make it seem so, it's not that you make it look easy, you just make it look really achievable.
Doable, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just seeing somebody do it in real life. You kind of watch it and think, well, actually I can do that, rather than, how am I going to do that? You know, so no, it was a massive, massive help. And I think I signed up at the end of December, and I strung my first guitar on the 11th of March. So without access to those videos, there's no way that I'd have done it within that time scale.
Wow.
No, so
well,
thank you very, very much.
Works,
it does, it's brilliant.
Because when I started doing it, I wasn't sure how successful it was going to be with people at home. But it was always a dream of mine. This is like a dream I had of being in the future where I could beam myself into somebody's shed and show them how to do it.
Yeah.
But now we're here, we can actually do it with the internet. But it is still, I'm always amazed to see what folks are turning out using with a little bit of help from me. Yeah. What you've actually managed to achieve. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop the cameras and then we'll restart them, and I'm going to show you some of the guitars that Darren's made.
Lovely.